Streaming down her face. I could tell that she was in so much pain. So I reached out for a hug and she came in and snuggled up. I told her everything will be better someday. I don't know who needs to hear this, but know that someday it will get better. I know life sucks sometimes, I don't always like mine, but I know that someday it will get better.
Bushels of fun. Now the jingle hop has begun. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bells chiming, jingle bell time. Dancing and prancing in Jingle Bell Square. In the frosty air. What a right time, it's the right time to rock the night away. Sleigh. Giddy up, jingle horse, pick up your feet. Jingle around the clock. Mix and a mingle in the jingling beat. That's the jingle bell. That's the jingle bell. That's the jingle bell rock.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest episode of I'm No Joke, your home for all things combat sports, and the place where every armchair quarterback can feel like Ben Bronco. The views and opinions presented on the I'm No Joke channel belong solely to the person expressing them, no one else. If we say it, that means we meant it. That being said, This show does contain adult themes, adult content, and general shit that you shouldn't be letting your kids intake. Be advised, viewer discretion is recommended. Proceed at your own risk. You've been warned. If it's Thursday, I got a lot of problems with you people, and you're gonna hear about it. I'll save the feats of strength for later. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to this special Festivus edition of the I'm No Joe podcast, a show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. Today, like some days, I have got this strange kid that's been hanging around here with me live to talk about some cool stuff. If he can keep his internet connected. How you doing, stranger?
What's going on, dude? You know, fucking broke out of the fucking mental ward and fucking ended up here somehow, dude. It's fucking nuts.
I mean, this is definitely a home for non-elastic pajama pants. So I mean,
I'm doing good now though. You know, had a rough fucking 2 weeks. So gotta get shit moving in the fucking right direction again, man.
Good deal. Glad to have you back, brother.
Yeah, man. Good to be back.
So this ironically is a pure bonus show. There is no major card between now and the end of the year. There is a weird Ryzen New Year's Eve card that they do every year that's more performative than it is actual combat sports, so we generally don't talk about that. There is no actual major organized card until January 15th. The I'm No Joe podcast in its full official form will be back for our debut of season 6, January 13th. We have got some crazy shit already in the works for that episode, but tonight I thought we would take a moment to break down, because this last weekend's card was on a lot of notes a lot better than anybody really anticipated it being, a lot better than it had rights to be in a lot of ways, a lot more disappointing in some ways as well. But aside from that craziness, we've also had some interesting news shake down the pipeline. So I thought I would bring you fine folks a festive last bunch of news for your consumption to cap off 2021. Just so happen to have this strange fella here with me. So we will kick it down here for last weekend. There was actually quite a bit of combat sports. We didn't really talk too much about the smaller things or some of the head shaking things on the show last week, but I will say BKFC Thailand wasn't the worst card overall. The prelims were overall better than the main card, in my opinion. That main fight, I will say, had one of the strangest stoppages I've ever seen. Dude walked into a fucking hook and it split his nose right between his fucking eyeballs, and it was bleeding out in a perfect little cross pattern. It was weird as shit to see. Gamebred FC3 sucked out loud. Like, this card blew goats in public. It was bad. I get that Masvidal's had a lot of other things going on lately that he's had to worry about, but that card just fucking sucked. There was really only a couple of fights even worth talking about. Most fights didn't make it past the first round even. So there was that. And then excuse me. There was the unmentioned fight that took place last weekend. We didn't mention it for good reason. We didn't encourage it, and we've basically stricken the nonsense from the show via commission, but I will talk about the results for a couple of reasons though. Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley rematch went down last weekend, and Jake Paul knocked Tyron Woodley the fuck out cold. He feinted Woodley with a left. Woodley dropped his guard, and he came through with a right hook that literally put Woodley flat face down on the fucking canvas, out cold. It was bad. Woodley needs to fucking stop, but instead he immediately called out a basketball player to box him on the next Jake Paul undercard, which is bad enough unto itself. Then he offered $5,000 to the best meme that a fan could make of him getting knocked out by Jake Paul on Instagram. And then after all that bullshit, then the commission gave him a 2-month medical suspension from getting knocked the fuck out. That was bad. Like, and I've heard a lot of people bitch that, you know, you can't be mad at Jake Paul for dropping Woodley. And it's not that I'm mad at Jake Paul for dropping Woodley. He did exactly what his coaches taught him to do. He threw a very nice feint that Woodley clearly bought. And when Woodley dropped his guard, he delivered the right, just like he was taught to do. And it did exactly what his coaches wanted it to do. You can't be mad at that. What you can be mad at is that fight being set up to begin with, that carnival being entertained by the masses to begin with. So the only thing I will say further than that, to even fucking tie to that shit show of a Woodley Paul circus ring, is that we did get one little silver lining, if you will, out of that entire dumpster fire that rolled through. And that was that Nate Diaz was there because some of his teammates were boxing on the card against some of Paul's teammates, I guess would be the right word. I say in air quotes for those listening. And in walking out, Nate Diaz flexed on a dude and pump faked on him, and the dude had 2 beers in his hand and clearly got the absolute shit scared out of him by Nate Diaz and threw like a fucking NCAA sideline Gatorade coolers worth of beer up in the air like a fucking cartoon, and then like pretended to be all angry. And it was fucking beautiful. Dana White tweeted it. It's all over the internet. I encourage you to look it up. I couldn't find a good clean copy of it. I was gonna put it on here for you guys, but that shit was hilarious. And the best part is that the same dude that Nate Diaz punked on turned around and tried to punk on the Island Boys who were in the crowd and already starting fights with like 3 other dudes in the crowd, and got shut down by security doing that as well. So he took to Twitter and called Nate Diaz a straight female dog and a punk, and tried to say that he had cops with him and blah, 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 even though there's 7 different angles of it clearly showing that it was just Nate Diaz walking down by his goddamn self when he flexed on the dude and he flinched. Sorry, man. That's fucking life. He just happened to get caught and it went viral like that. So that I will say is a silver lining from that dumpster fire. That being said, the UFC card itself, I gotta say, going into this, I did not honestly have very much faith whatsoever in Matt Sales, least of all him in a new weight class, because he didn't really do a whole hell of a lot at 45, aka Bryce Mitchell putting his ass in a world of hurt. So I didn't have a whole lot of expectations when we saw him going to 55. I will say I was optimistic, thinking that if he was going to do something different at 55, this was the guy we wanted to see him do it against, because this nobody puts baby in the corner asshole is obnoxious. Unfortunately for us, Matt Sales, point blank period, to quote a guy, sucks when it comes to wrestlers and grapplers of really any caliber. We've seen Bryce Mitchell ragdolled his fucking ass, had his fucking way with him. Jordan Levitt had very little resistance, doing whatever the fuck he wanted, was throwing running and rolling takedowns at him and shit. It was kind of fucking embarrassing, honestly, because I was rooting. I wanted to see Jordan Levitt get shut up. I really did. I didn't have a whole lot of faith that Sales is going to be able to do it, but I was hoping he might be able to pull off the unthinkable. I was fucking wrong. Levitt locked his ass up in the fucking second, and that was all she fucking wrote.
Yeah, I mean, I hoped Levitt would get fucked, mostly because how he celebrated with his cornerman.
Yeah, and
in that
I will
first
say,
one.
He didn't do the full baby in the corner celebration this time, but as they tried to come talk to him, he did immediately drop down into the fucking tada splits, which was equally as obnoxious, I have to say. Like,
yeah,
we get it, dude. We all get it. You can do the splits.
We all get it. There's nothing down there. Don't worry. He doesn't need to wear a cup.
Kids these days, I tell you. I will say, not that we had a whole lot of high expectations. Likewise, in the following matchup with Dontel Miles and Josh Parisian, we had seen a couple little glimpses of potential in Parisian once upon a time, but nothing to really build a house around, to say the least. Not that Dante Miles has proved himself to be a fucking world breaker in any way, shape, or form by this, but he got himself fucking TKO stoppage. Goddard did. I wouldn't call it pretty. I wouldn't really brag too much about it, but good for you.
I don't know. I'm still hoping Parisian can do something, because he has shown time and time again that whenever he gets somebody to the ground, he's a big man that can fuck with jiu-jitsu. And
so much potential, you would think.
I am excited. Like, I think if he got a good fucking team behind him to really, really lay out solid groundwork, solid standing, be able to fucking intelligently defend yourself while you're standing and set up counters, because he's not a big counter fighter. And everybody knows if you can pop somebody one or two times on the way out, you can stack up some damage. You can put a hurt on somebody. I think if he got a good team behind him, that man could go a good fucking distance, because he has a lot of potential. Being so young in the UFC, he has a lot of potential.
I agree. And I think that's what bugs me when I see him put on a shit show like he did this weekend against Dontel Miles, is that, like I said, right out of the gate, we've seen that potential from Parisian. We've seen it. We've seen glimpses of it, at least, I'll say. We've seen glimpses of that potential. We know there's some there. He just doesn't seem to be able to be consistent with it. And when you're inconsistent against a guy like Miles, who's got fucking power, you end up getting fucking rocked. Speaking of rocks, though, Raquel Pennington against Macy Chiasson.
Good transition, sir.
Dude. Pennington ate some big shots early on. Chiasson has got some crisp striking. She really, really does. The problem is I think she gets flustered. When her game plan doesn't work, she doesn't really seem to be able to adapt on the fly. That's one of Pennington's strong suits. Like, she can stick to the game plan, but if the game plan's not working, she can tell and adapt on the fly and change up what she's doing and look for what will work, and then adapt her game plan to what works versus what she planned to work. Chiasson seemed to literally be throwing the same left jab and then 1-2 over and over and over for the end of the first round and almost all of the second round, until Rocky really fucking got her. Because, man, Raquel Pennington is so fucking snappy. Like, that girl stays cool, calm, and collect under fire. She does not get fucking rattled, and she was in there just composed as could fucking be. And when her moment opened up, she snatched it. She snatched it, man. Props to fucking Pennington, man. Props to Pennington. I honestly don't think she's making another title run anytime soon, but that's one of the toughest fucking top 10 gatekeepers you'll ever fucking find on the ladies' side of things, in my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of think seeing that performance kind of put Chiasson back down, way the fuck back down, because I mean she can do work against unranked nobodies, never has beens, never will be's, but whenever you get into the likes of a household recognizable name like a Pennington, it's just not gonna end well. She needs to go home and do a little bit of fucking thinking on how she wants to continue her career in the UFC, because going how you're going, it ain't fucking working.
Yeah, I agree. She's and to her credit, like I say, credit where credit's due. Chiasson has been a hell of a can crusher so far. When the UFC has thrown her scraps, she has made fucking souffles out of it. She really has. But like RJ said, When they started throwing her against some recognizable talent like Pennington, she clearly came up short. But again, much like Parisian, we've seen that potential there. We've seen her able to show that she can do it. She just isn't doing it right now. So I think that's, again, another matter of get your ass in the gym, grind a little bit, polish those edges up, get back after it, climb your way back up, and you can do it.
And create fluidity, because she was telegraphing everything she wanted to do. She was looking directly at what she wanted, which was, okay, she's moving right, she's moving left, she's moving right, she's going to move left, throw a left, she's going to dip right, throw a right. Yep. You're telegraphing yourself.
Attempt to take down, you literally could see her look down at Rachel's leg before she'd or Raquel's leg before she fucking reached for it. Like,
see, and if
when she was going to dip, you'd see her like lead with her chin almost.
If you have a tell, let that tell be a fucking feint. Like my favorite thing is look down, act like I'm going down, but then come up with a fucking uppercut, because you're not going to expect an uppercut. And especially with that bounce back, you can get a lot of fucking torque behind a short, quick cut. You can get a lot of torque, a lot of power behind that. I mean, that's feints and shit like that just are way fucking underutilized in the big leagues. But you see them all the time in amateur and pro-am fights. You see that shit all the time. Go back to the basics. Go back to the roots.
I agree. It could do a lot of good. It could do a lot of good, because that telegraphing is going to hurt, and it was hard. Moving on from there, though, Jourdain versus Ewell was exactly the fucking grind fest we thought it was going to be. Neither one really looked spectacular. Jourdain grinded himself out of decision. That brings us to Eubanks versus Gato. Man, Eubanks just can't seem to string it together. She's changed weight classes, she's changed camps. She just can't really seem to string it together. She had a couple good runs a couple of years ago, and that's really been it. It's been scatterfucked, few and far between anything worth speaking about in her favor for at least a good 4 or 5 years now. And unfortunately for her, Melissa Gato is another one of those young up and comers that they threw at her that just had her fucking number pretty much the whole way around. 45 seconds into the third one, all she fucking wrote. Honestly, yeah. I don't know if that's a matter of change camps again, change weight classes again. I think that might be a matter of you either need to hang it up or head to Bellator or somewhere of a lesser caliber fighters if you're going to keep doing this.
Shit, PFL, LFA.
Yeah.
Those are prime candidates for
go back to Invicta shit.
I mean, yeah. I mean, those are prime candidates for some female fighting, because they don't have a very large pool. And you could, somebody of notoriety, a good name, could probably get in there rather easily, especially being a former vet of the UFC. I mean,
I was going to say that former UFC veteran status, I say with air quotes for those listening, does legitimately carry fighters into almost any other smaller division that they want to, assuming that they don't leave on the most horrendous terms.
Yeah. I mean, but like, yeah, she's what, whenever Eubanks needs to fucking win and it's a big fight, somehow she pulls it off more often than not. But whenever it's somebody that's not to her level on paper, she just fucking whiffs every time. Every fucking time. Like she can put some shit together, but whenever it matters, like on paper, like, you know, Eubanks has got this, like first round, early second round, fucking TKO KO victory. Nah, she just shits the fucking bed.
No, I completely agree. She's had more than every opportunity to do something in more than one weight class and more than one gym. I think it's time to either drop into a lower class league or just hang it up, and it's not going to get better from here. That, however, will bring us to a literal historic matchup that we didn't even know was going to be a historic matchup last weekend. Justin Tafa being the first UFC heavyweight to miss the heavyweight limit of 265 pounds at a weigh-in. He weighed in at 267. That being said, he got a fucking head kick KO at a minute 50 in the first fucking round against Harry Hunsucker. The guy known for his punching prowess and being Mark Hunt's protege got a fucking head kick KO in the first round. You know, sometimes the UFC never ceases to amaze me. Sometimes the UFC just is a gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the memes that came out of that Harry Hunt sucking them toes. I mean, like some of them were fucking gold.
Yeah. They kind of wrote themselves.
Yeah.
But again, this is one of those situations, kind of the reverse of the ones we had earlier, where Hunsucker's a new nobody, basically, that Tafa was supposed to come out and style on. But everybody kind of expected Tafa to come out and style on him with his fists. I don't know that anybody expected Justin Tafa to come out and throw a fucking head kick at heavyweight as clean as that to drop Hunsucker like he did. So, hey, caps to you, son. Bravo, well done. That will bring us, though, to one of the folks who had their birthday last Saturday night, of all people. Gerald GM3 Mearshart taking on Dustin Stoltzfus, words, his name. I will say, though, there was, for some reason, a lot of doubt and speculation about GM3 coming into this fight from a lot of the MMA media, and I don't understand it. I was quite the opposite. I didn't even realize it was his birthday, but I was absolutely fucking cheering him on, rooting for Team GM3, and sure the fuck enough, he got himself a fucking birthday chokeout to take home and talk about. Pretty fucking spectacularly, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, like I really didn't understand how Stoltzfus got so much hype. He's on a 2-fight skid before the fight with Mearshart. He's on a 2-fight skid. Like, you can't hype somebody up that hasn't won a single fight since they debuted in the UFC. He's 3 for 3 right now on fucking L's. How are you hyping that?
I don't know, man. I will say, I think that likely is the last time we see Dustin in the UFC. Not just 0 for 3, but you got styled on, son. Like, you got styled on by Mearshart, and
Effortlessly at that.
Yeah, he looked great. Mearshart was just giving him the goddamn business. So props to GM3. Happy birthday. Fucking good on you. Happy trails to you, Mr. Stoltzfus.
Oh, I want to bring something up. It's combat sports related. I saw something, and I don't know if it got brought up. Did you see that Maynard Keenan got a fucking black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu last month?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, he's one of the most dedicated jiu-jitsu folks in the country right now, really, I'd say. Aside from everything else that he's got going on, a fucking regular basis. He's also a constant jiu-jitsu practitioner. Mostly gi, but some no gi as well. And from watching him roll with several different folks, he's fucking good, man. Like, he's legitimately very fucking good. So yeah, the fact that he got his fucking black belt, it's not really surprising, but it is very cool, I think.
Yeah, I didn't even know that he was that high belt. And I saw a video of him that he posted onto his Instagram rolling, and he's like, man, he's like, this is what it is to get a black belt, all the years, all of the fucking sweat, all the grinding. And I'm like, wait, time out. When the fuck did he get a black belt? Because he's been a brown belt for years.
A hot minute, yeah, for a couple
He was like,
years.
Like Joe Rogan with Eddie in 10th Planet.
Yep.
Joe was a brown belt for like 7 years there.
Yeah, for a good, yeah. Was it 7 years? Yeah,
it was like 7, 8 years.
Yeah, no shit. That's right.
I saw that and I was like, damn. I was like, the next show, I gotta say something because I don't remember anybody talking about it. I'm like,
I'm pretty sure it got blipped into one of the news segments, but if not,
I just didn't remember. So I'm like,
yeah. I'm pretty sure it would have gotten covered, but I'm not 100% sure if it did or not. Either way, now we got it. That'll bring us around to the main card, though. Opening fight, man. TJ and I said it last week. This is two dudes who embody that spirit of allergic to boring fights. They break out in punches, and man, TJ and I were talking about it Saturday night in our group chat. I don't know that I've ever seen anyone hurt Darren Elkins as much as Cub Swanson did in as short amount of time as he did. We've seen Darren Elkins have some stoppage losses before, and it generally takes, you got to beat that motherfucker with an inch of his life. And we've seen that happen. So we know that it is possible, but I don't know that he has ever been stopped that quickly in the first round before. Like, every time Cub touched him, it was like lightning hitting him. He just fucking rocked him, and every touch did more and more, and you could see it physically wobbling him with every strike. And Cub was very precise, very calm, cool, and collected, stayed fucking measured, didn't go crazy. Like, one shot cleanly placed just completely discombobulated Darren Elkins' brain. And I don't know that anybody has ever hit him with a shot as clean and as hard as the one that Cub fucking Swanson laid on him Saturday night. Props to fucking Cub Swanson, man, because we know that Darren Elkins is one of the toughest fucking guys in the UFC, period. You don't get a nickname like The Damage because you're a pussy. So we know Elkins is a badass amongst badasses. So for Cub to be able to not only do what he did, but to do that in 2 fucking minutes of the first round.
Let me put it into perspective real quick. I just pulled him up on the lovely UFC page. His last stoppage loss was in 2013.
I mean, you don't get a nickname like The Damage because you're easy to hurt.
Yeah.
Fucking A. Yeah. Cub gave him the business, man. Cub gave him every inch of what he could handle and every bit more. And he did it very well. Absolute props to fucking Cub Swanson, man.
Diego Ferreira versus Mateus Gamrot was a very interesting match. To his credit, Diego Ferreira's manager actually came out since the fight and said that Diego had a rib injury 3 weeks before the fight in camp that almost had him pulling out of the fight, but that he didn't. And then conveniently, it just happened to be on the rib that Gamrot kneed into this following Thursday. Whether that's true or not, it's hard to say. I wasn't in camp with him, so I can't say for sure. The odds of that being the case are pretty fucking slim. The reality of the measure, I would say, is that Gamrot had him in a real bad spot and threw some of the nastiest fucking knees we have seen in a long time and was able to place them accurately right where they needed to go to do some serious fucking damage infliction. And they did exactly what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, regardless with the whole, I had a rib injury. Your ribs went inside of your organs.
Yeah.
To say it bluntly, they went inside of the organs. They moved the organs around because they got flexed in that fucking hard. If you were like, hey, I'm done because your rib just touched like your stomach, I'm okay with that. But just be a man and say it. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. If that's the reason why you are like, hey, I'm done, that just fucking wrecked me, I'm not mad at that. That's it. Those were fucking gnarly fucking shots to the body. Those were fucking gnarly. I wouldn't be surprised if you have a couple fractures in there now.
At least shit.
Like, I'm not mad at that. Just be a man about it and be like, hey, that he fucking hurt me.
Yeah, no, that props to Gamrot for having the presence of mind to drop those knees the way that he did. But hot damn, that shit hurt. That being said, though, that will bring us to what I think we all agreed was the dark horse fight of the night for last weekend's card. Rafael Asunciao down at bantamweight taking on Ricky Simone with a fucking glorious freshly trimmed mullet ready to fucking rock. Problem for Asunciao is that the power of the mullet is real, man. Ricky looked fucking great, and Asunciao didn't look bad. It wasn't a matter of Rafael looking like shit and Ricky just stunting on him. Like, Rafael looked good, but Ricky looked dialed the fuck in. He was on fucking point. He was real fucking bouncy. He was crisp with his fucking striking. And 2 minutes into round two, good night, sweetheart. Power of the mullet compels you.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of Asunciao looking good or not, he really needs to change something the fuck up because he's on like a 3 or 4 fight skid right now.
Yeah.
And we have lost better fighters with less consecutive losses. So he needs to have a come to Jesus, shit or get off the pot moment coming up in his next fight, or he's going to end up getting walking papers.
Yeah, I agree. There's only so much that Dana's going to fucking tolerate regardless. Like, at this point, you're starting to tap the fucking well dry, buddy.
I mean, tapping it dry, but then it gets a little bit more in the arid region of the world.
Right.
Whenever you lose a fight to Moraes, who hasn't done anything notable in years. And then your next fight is Cody Garbrandt, and you take an L in that. Cody Garbrandt is an overhyped Golden Glove boxer, apparently. But
Look what happened to Cody in his next fight after that. So
yeah, so you're on a deficit. Instead of just losing those 2 fights, you just lost 4 fights because you lost against 2 shit tier fighters right now. Because in their day they were greats, but they are on the skid and they can't put their fucking heels in the dirt to fucking stop themselves to save their life. You're kind of on the same trajectory right now. You're starting to teeter down very fucking quickly, and it's hard to fucking catch yourself. So he needs to do something.
yeah, I completely agree. Speaking of needing to do something, though,
Let's get that bitch the fuck out of the UFC.
yeah,
God
now,
damn.
I will say this: Amanda Lemos versus Angela Hill was every bit the snooze fest we all said it was going to be, but it did point out a very obvious inconsistency that we on this show have been talking about for at least 3 years, 4 years now. Incompetency of Las Vegas judges. And before we even get into it, no, Angela Hill did not win that fight. Period. That can be put the fuck aside. That's not an issue up for discussion. She lost that fight. Period. The thing that is the controversial point of discussion is that she lost via split decision because one of the judges gave her the fight 30-27. I don't agree with that either. I think that Hill did get at least one round, which would have made it a 29-28 and still would have resulted in Lemos winning via technically a split decision because it would have been 3 separate scores, but it would have been closer to accurate. But even with the 30-27 brought to a 29-28 like it reasonably should have been, it still would have been Lemos's fight. Hill didn't do enough. Period. She never fucking does. We say it all the fucking time. There's only so much credit you can be given for taking every goddamn fight on short notice. Fighting 7 times a year doesn't matter if you lose all 7 fights.
Yeah, she's on like a 5 or 6 skid right now.
I believe this is a 6-fight skid for her in a row now. Like, and she's well under 500. I think this puts her at like 14-11 or something like that. Like,
I'll check. I shall check. 13-10.
14-10. See, I was close.
Yeah.
14-10. Like,
Hey Dana, what happened to last year? We're gonna start thinning out the fighter pool. Whenever you have people on your roster that have lost 6 fights in 1 year, what happened to thinning the fighter pool, Dana?
like I get not everybody can have a Khabib run. Like, not everybody can get a stack with a 0 on the other side and step out before they have to have that 0 really compromised. I get it. But at the same time, when you let household names go for losing 3 fights in 2 different weight classes, but you keep Angela Hill with 6 losses in a row, like, it gets hard. It gets hard to justify Dana's logic sometimes. I'm ready to see Angela Hill sent over to PFL or send her to Bellator. She's only been a fucking gatekeeper for the last couple of years at best anyway. Not that Lemos did anything spectacular, but I'm done. I'm done seeing Hill be disappointing. I don't care how short notice she takes the fucking fight on. Okay, I'm done. I'm off that train.
Like her only draw is that her grandparents are the fucking, was it Betty and Bonnie Hill, whatever the fuck it was, that the UFO shit. That's the only cool thing, the good thing that comes with that motherfucker. That's it.
Yeah, no, I'm done. That value's been tapped, in my opinion. I'm ready to move on. Oh, but the problem is that when you move on from there, that brings us to Stephen Thompson versus who? Oh yeah, Bilal Muhammad. I'm not Willy Wonka, so I'm not here to sugarcoat shit. Bilal Muhammad unenthusiastically wet blanketed Wonder Boy for 3 boring as fuck rounds, and then used that laughable decision victory to demand a title shot. Like, you quite literally wrestle fucked number 6 to a decision. I don't understand how that justifies a title shot.
And it's number 6. I'm still shocked and awe how Wonder Boy is still a top 10 ranked in the UFC, being a decision victory god, because decisions don't get you fucking titles.
Well, when you compared to a lot of his welterweight brethren who are getting knocked the fuck out in every fight, decisions look a lot better than getting your ass handed to you in, a minute 47 or whatever a lot of the guys have been getting knocked out in lately.
I mean, yeah, but everybody just carries so much weight with Wonder Boy. I don't see it. I think
it's because if you put him against another striker, Wonder Boy makes for a very interesting fight. The problem is people figured out long ago in the Tyron Woodley days that you don't have to stand and strike with Wonder Boy. You can take him to the ground and do pretty much whatever you want with him, because despite even working with Chris fucking Weidman, I guess he just is never going to develop himself a legitimate ground game or a takedown defense, despite how much his dad screams from the sidelines.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
I love Wonder Boy, but Wonder Boy has been in the UFC for a decade and hasn't learned how to stop a takedown or do any ground defense. And that,
yeah,
you just can't do that, man. And if you can train with Chris Weidman and pick up nothing, I don't know how much hope there is for you to develop it at this point. Wonder Boy is fucking my age, man. Wonder Boy is almost 40. Like,
where I come from, he is a boxer and a kickboxer. An MMA fighter is not in there.
No. And to be fair, he's world class, legitimately world class as a boxer or a kickboxer.
Maybe
MMA fighter, he's top 10.
Maybe
I'll give
he
him
should.
that. He is top 10.
He should tap into
World
those
class,
fields.
though, I struggle to call him world class in MMA.
Maybe he should tap back into those markets, because he had a record for a while being a kickboxing champion. He has records.
Didn't he go like 74-0 for a while? There's a kickboxer,
some shit like that.
75-0.
Some
went
shit
like
like
70 something and undefeated in kickboxing. Like, just laying motherfuckers out because you can't wrestle him. And that motherfucker's 9 feet long when the legs come out.
Yeah, it was something stupid like that.
Yeah.
I think he has a couple records that are still unbroken in kickboxing.
I believe you're right. I think he has 1 or 2 still. Yeah. Because he's a fucking world-class kickboxer. MMA, he's good. He's real good. Yeah. But he's not quite world-class. And I like Wonder Boy, but I don't think he's quite that world-class level that he wants to get to. That being said, as eloquently as it was put, nobody wants to get Rodney King on ESPN. Derek Lewis made damn sure that he didn't. I gotta say, I think Chris Daukaus, to his detriment, has only fought some of the smaller heavyweights leading up to this fight. Most of the heavyweights that he has fought prior to Derek Lewis generally get on the scales about 225, 235, 240 at some of the bigger guys that he's fought. Derek Lewis, much like some of the other folks that we've talked about, is a big dude who cuts to make it to 265. And we've heard him talk about it himself, has had trouble in the past cutting all the way down to 265. So when he steps in that ring, there's no reason to doubt that he's every bit of fucking 290, 300 fucking pounds. Like, he's a big boy come fight night. And that's not the same with most of the guys that Chris Daukaus had fought prior to this last weekend. And I think that became painfully apparent to Chris Daukaus about 3 minutes into that fight, based on the fight ending at 3 minutes and 36 seconds. Derek Lewis, love him or hate him, that dude has got power in his fucking hands. And when that power connects, it's a lot to handle. And if you're not ready for it, it's going to do bad things to you. And unfortunately, Daukaus just was not ready for it. He didn't look terrible. It wasn't the worst fight he's ever had, I'm sure. But it definitely was the worst one he's had in the UFC so far. And I think it was because he weighed in at like 236. Like, when you're going to play with the big boys in the heavyweights, you have to be able to stand with the big boys in the heavyweights. Even Stipe learned, you cut too much weight as a heavyweight against the dudes who don't cut weight or cut to make the limit, there's a disadvantage to be had even at the top level. So I think Chris Daukaus just had to learn that the hard way. Luckily, fairly early on in his UFC career, though. Derek Lewis on the microphone, dude. Is there anyone better? Is there ever anyone better than Derek Lewis on the fucking microphone? Asking Dana White to make title fights 3 rounds being the only way he'd be interested in another title fight. Man, that dude's awesome. He's great on the microphone.
So my only thing is the blaring, talking, screaming, neon pink and jumping in the air saying, "Hey, look at me over here." Chris Daukaus got launched up the board way too fucking quick. I don't think he's ready to fight anybody in the top 10. And he is in the midst of it. He's
in the thick of it for sure.
He's a good fucking fighter. He has a lot of fucking potential. But he's only got 6 fights under his belt in the UFC. He got launched up the fucking board to number 7 that fucking quick. I mean, he's a damn good fighter. I will absolutely not throw any shade. I won't bullshit. He's got a lot of fucking potential. But I think he should have gotten maybe another year in before he fought somebody with of the likes of Derek Lewis.
Yeah, I agree. At least a couple more build-up fights at the very least.
Like, get a couple headhunter power hungry motherfuckers in there before you get fucking knockout king himself, Derek Lewis, in there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you could have thrown him to the likes of the fucking baby Hueys and all those. There's a couple of fucking goobers that are hovering around the 15 spot at heavyweight in the UFC. That would have been perfect fucking stepping stones for him to cut his teeth on, that could still do damage to him if they swung on him and connected, but likely weren't gonna connect. And he could have styled on him and looked good and built himself up before he got to this point. But UFC gonna do what UFC gonna do, and they threw him right to Derek Lewis, and he had to learn the hard way. He wasn't quite ready for that big of a jump.
Yeah, I think they just launched him up way too fucking quick. I think he was too wet behind the ears to be able to have a game plan and even properly defend himself with what's coming to him with somebody like Derek Lewis. I mean,
Yeah, I
I mean, it's hard to fucking be ready for what's coming to you with Derek Lewis, because that's
Yeah.
that's a
It's a lot to handle.
that's a whole lot of man, and them some big ass hands. But I mean, I
When he
think
puts it down.
he should have gotten maybe another year. I would say run this back December next year.
Yeah.
I think there will be a night and day difference between this fight and if you run it back a year from now. I think there would be a night and day difference from the performance of Daukaus.
Well, that, and not to make excuses by any stretch of the imagination, but you also have to take into consideration that for the last 2.5 years now, Chris Daukaus has been pulling a Stipe. Like, he's been training for these fights and a full-time police officer in Philadelphia. It was literally just 2 weeks ago that he retired from the force to become a full-time fighter. So he, even during this camp, still didn't have full-time focus and dedication to the camp because he was still being a cop for 2/3 of the fucking fight camp.
Yeah.
So I am hoping that this was just the first kind of stutter, really, as he stepped off of one treadmill onto another, making his way from that police officer career into the UFC fighter, and starts to get his feet underneath him really as a UFC fighter, because I really do think he's got a lot of potential, and the UFC needs some young blood. It needs some talented young blood to move that fucking division along. And Daukaus could very well be that young blood, but he's got to get back in the gym, got to get to work, got to polish up some of them rough edges.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. For whatever reason, despite him giving like 18 fucking bonuses out in 2 weeks ago for 269, nice. They went back with the traditional fight of the night and 2 performance of the night bonuses for this final UFC fight night of the year. My issue is what they fucking picked. For some fucking reason, they gave fight of the night to Hill versus Lemos. And they gave performance of the night bonuses to Cub Swanson and then Melissa Gato.
Fight of the night, Cub Swanson.
I mean, Swanson is the only name on that list I'm not mad at. Hill Lemos was not the best fucking fight of the night by any stretch of the imagination. The Gato stoppage, while nice for her, was not the best of the night. If they were going to give another one, it should have either been for Gamrot's fucking knees of death or the power of the mullet, Ricky Simone, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was about to run off fucking Swanson, Simone, and Gamrot. Those would be my 3.
Yeah.
Those would be my 3 picks. You can go, it would be tough to pick back and forth between fight of the night because Simone and Swanson, those were both pretty fucking banger fights.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they absolutely were.
So that would be the only hard pick of which one of those 2 you give fight of the night to.
Okay, here we go. So we also have, oh my God, my allergies are killing me. My fucking nose is driving me nuts. We also have the medical result or medical suspension results from the card. And it is absolutely another one of those cases where we basically have 3 categories in total. We have the light suspension, the light suspension plus, and then the, oh my God, 6 months or a doctor's clearance. So for the light suspensions, Wonder Boy, Lemos, Hill, Daukaus, Fajera, Elkins, Eubanks, Gato, Jourdain, Ewell, and Parisian. Everyone else, Jordan Levitt, Dante Miles, Harry Hunsucker, Justin Taffa, Cub Swanson, Rafael Sunsao, all have to be cleared by a doctor or are suspended until June 17th. it's literally 3 laughable categories, none of which are appropriate, but it's what we get with Vegas lately, apparently. That being said, I do have a short list of fight announcements and news tidbits here that have shaken down the pipe in the last week since we saw you folks that I do want to go over real quick here. We got, Lord knows why, but they're going to do a Triad Combat 2 in February 2022. They have not announced the exact date. They just said, quote unquote, February 2022. But they have announced 2 of the fights for that card, one of which being Chad Dawson versus Vitor Belfort. The other one being Puliev versus Junior Dos Santos, JDS. I mean, both about as fair as you're going to get realistically on the level that they're looking for talent wise. I don't know. I just don't know. I'm not really going to encourage Triad Combat, but I can't really discourage it because it was actually somewhat entertaining. So we'll see. As long as they don't turn it into a full Triller thing, I think we can still work with it. We did have one fight this last weekend actually pulled from the card before it actually had a chance to become a thing. Hani Barcelos versus Victor Henry, fight we were actually all kind of looking a little forward to seeing how it played out, got scrapped right after the weigh-ins because Henry actually got himself a case of the Backstreet Boys. So that fight never actually got a chance to be. They are talking about trying to reschedule it and just run it back in a couple of weeks, though, because surely there's going to be an opening or 2 in the next couple of weeks in the first couple of UFC cards of the year. UFC 272 going down on March 5th got an interesting addition to it. Marina Moroz versus Maria, I'm not sure how she pronounced it, Agapova. These two are former training partners. Agapova had some issues in the last 2 years, to say the least. Moroz was pretty quick to go public and call her out on him publicly. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. It's very much like a ladies' former training partner situation thing, kind of Colby Jorge or Poirier Colby-esque on the ladies' side of things. So I'm here for it. Let's see where it goes. The following week after that, the March 12th card got a pair of announcements added to it this week. The first one, Bruno Silva, coming fresh off of the badass performance 2 weeks ago we saw from him, will be taking on world-class kickboxer Alex Pereira, coming in off of a very impressive performance from his debut as well. So they're actually genuinely somewhat treating Pereira like a prospect. Bruno Silva came in and has done pretty good work in his times out, but he's only had a couple times out. He's still very fresh in the UFC. So it's actually a pretty fairly interesting matchup, I would think here. I'm down with it. I'm curious to see how it plays out. The other half of that announcement, though, is the one that I think a lot more folks are going to get excited about. Marlon Moraes will also be taking on Song Yadong on that March 12th card. And that is a very exciting fight for a lot of folks who have been paying attention to both of those gentlemen's careers. That March 12th card is getting stacked pretty fucking nicely. We do have a couple of non-fight announcements to talk about here. The first one, Claudia Gadelha actually retired this week officially. She said that she has been having some serious headaches, to the extent she described the last one that she had feeling like someone was stabbing a knife in the back of her head for 3 days. She also said that with some of the severe injuries that she's had in her career, it's just starting to take her notably longer to heal from injuries. And at that point, it's starting to hinder her championship ambition and not wanting to sacrifice the rest of her health for the rest of another run at a title. Can't really be mad at her for calling it out. YouTube freaked out. It's giving me a thing. Why is it giving me a thing? Why are you giving me a thing, YouTube? You better still be broadcasting on the TV behind us. Still has fucking sound. I don't know. Why is YouTube having a thing? Don't have a thing, YouTube.
Stop having a thing, bitch. We get it. We're too. It's a bearded man and somebody that's working on a beard. We understand we're not that pretty.
Oh, anyways. But yeah, Claudia said that she's just been having she's noticing that it takes her longer to heal from injuries, and she started to have notable like issue headaches. And at that point, hang it up. She's got enough notoriety. She can go back to Brazil and do a lot of good. She's got a lot of potential in her future. She'll be okay, I think. Then we had a crybaby moment of the week. As if you needed more proof that he already lives there rent-free. Conor McGregor put out a tweet this week that said, "So when am I fighting Charles Oliveira for the title, LOL?" And Justin Gaethje came unglued at the fucking seams. He did a very angry interview. I don't remember if it was with Ariel or Mike Heck, one of the two, this week, where he quite literally said, if the UFC decides to let Conor McGregor fight Charles Oliveira before I do, I will personally fucking burn it all down. I will burn the headquarters and the entirety of the UFC to the fucking ground, because that's bullshit. Look, Justin, you've been around long enough to know. A, don't for a second think that you get to tell Dana what he can and can't do. B, do you really think you're a bigger draw than Conor McGregor?
No.
Really? Really? Come on, dude. Even coming off of a pair of technical losses, I say with air quotes for those listening, to Dustin Poirier back to back in the L column, still coming off of a pair of losses, he's still a bigger draw than Justin Gaethje coming in off a win. Sorry, man. That's the nuts and bolts of it. Like, you had a shot. Khabib wrecked your fucking day. Poirier had a shot. Khabib wrecked his day. Poirier earned a second shot. And then Charlie Olives wrecked his fucking day. I don't feel like Gaethje has earned another shot. Not just for him being a whiny bitch like this, but Poirier did work to get back.
Well, I don't think Gaethje's had that shitty fight with fucking Bambi legs. I think that's about it.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, he spent about half that fight in just as much trouble as he put Dickface in. I don't know. I would brag about that a whole lot. Like, you prove that you're tough, but you're willing to eat a million fucking shots to land two good ones. Not a great strategy, least of all for longevity, for fuck's sake. What are you going to do? Gaethje going to do what a Gaethje going to do. We did get a very interesting kind of cryptic piece of news this week about the undefeated one himself. Uncle Chael was detained but not arrested, and then charged with 5 individual counts of battery in Las Vegas, where, according to some folks' secondhand recollection of the events, a very drunk couple, male and female, were talking a whole lot of very loud shit about Chael's wife in front of Chael. And at some point, a scuffle ensued, and Chael ended up in a fight with multiple people. Security got called, the police got called. Chael was originally handcuffed, but only while he was detained. Where he was not arrested, he was released with 5 separate tickets for battery. Only Chael could pull some shit like that. We're still broadcasting. YouTube's still giving me a thing. I don't know what its problem is. We got a couple of interesting last minute announcements. Just this afternoon, we had Hector Lombard calling out Tyron Woodley to come over to BKFC. Hector Lombard has been calling out Tyron Woodley for a while now, since he was still in the UFC. They have had beef for a hot minute now, like real beef. And now that Woodley is a free agent has been making an embarrassment of himself, Lombard said, he might as well come over here and get his ass whooped like a man, like he knows he deserves. Honestly, I think Hector would fuck him up. I really do. As gun shy and frozen as we've seen Woodley be against YouTubers, against a monster as legitimate as Hector fucking Lombard with no gloves, I don't know if Woodley would agree to it. Honestly, I think the frozen one's too scared to throw them fucking gloveless hands with Hector.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it. I'm not going to lie. I would watch it, but I don't think he'll sign up for it. I don't think Woodley has the balls at this point. We got a last minute addition to the Eagle FC card taking place in Miami. And I will say it's interesting, but it's not anything that I think any of us anticipated. Everybody was immediately a little bit skeptical when Khabib himself announced that he got Rashad Evans to come out of retirement to take a fight on the Eagle FC card that's coming up. And everybody hoped it wasn't going to be something stupid, but some of the fights already on that card are a little questionable, we'll say. Well, they announced just this afternoon who Rashad's opponent's going to be. He's going to be fighting Submission Underground monster and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu legend, Gabriel Checo, in Eagle FC MMA.
Yeah, you just signed your fucking death warrant doing some shit like that. Oh, yeah, I'll fight. I haven't fought in 10 years. Oh, yeah, let me just fight, a god.
Stepping against Zangief after a decade out of the cage.
Right? It's been about 10 years for Evans.
Like, don't get me wrong. If Rashad thinks that he still has it enough to give it another go, I'm cool with him matching him up with someone of his experience level, of his age, somebody who hasn't been competing in the last couple of years, to say the least. We saw Zangief compete at least a half a dozen times this year. And he's been a monster every time he's competed. And most of when he's competed this year hasn't been in MMA. It's been working in jiu-jitsu of some sort.
Yeah.
And now they're going to let him punch motherfuckers as well as do crazy jiu-jitsu that he specializes in against the guy who hasn't been in there in a decade.
Man, that's just an easy paycheck.
Could be brother. This is number one bullshit is what it is.
That's just an easy paycheck. You just wanted to see a fucking UFC legend get fucked up in 36 seconds.
Right.
Oh yeah, you're a legend. Yeah, get fucked.
Yeah, I like Rashad, but I don't see this faring very well for him.
No, I don't even think he's gonna get punched that much. I think he's gonna get ripped to the ground and fucking choked out in 6 seconds.
I mean, I don't remember if it was his last match or the one before. One of his last couple of matches in Submission Underground, he came out and went for a takedown in like 8 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, comes to the center, slap hands, shoots for the fucking takedown right to the goddamn ground immediately.
And that person was expecting that and ready for it and trained.
I was gonna
for
say,
it.
and they were prepared for that, yeah, and it still worked. I don't know if Rashad's gonna be able to do that if Zangief decides he's gonna go right for the fuck you ground and pound. It could be real quick.
Yeah. Sub 30 second is my call. Sub 30 second right there.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, but you know, they'll get enough views, I'm sure. Another last minute announcement we got today, a pair of them actually. First one from the other side of the house here. The February 19th Bellator event just got a very interesting matchup added to it. Logan Storley stepping in to take on Neiman Gracie. That's going to be very interesting. Logan Storley is a wrestling fucking monster. So it's going to be interesting to see how his wrestling will hold up against that fucking crazy jiu-jitsu, since Neiman also very much has hands. That's going to be a very fucking cool matchup that I'm very excited to see.
Neiman is one of the very few Gracies that can compete as confidently and as efficiently on his feet as he can on the fucking ground.
Yes, he can hold his own anywhere the fight goes. Absolutely. Last bit of news I've got here for the year. Dana White actually doing the right thing. Going full Scrooged on us and making his last announcement of the year that, yes, as soon as it is ready to be made, the next matchup for 2022 to be added to the card list will be Rose Namajunas versus Carlos Esparza for the strawweight title. He's finally going to do the right thing. It only took Carlos screaming and demanding for it. Rose basically telling Dana that's the only fight that makes sense right now. And all of MMA journalism as a whole going, why the fuck aren't you making the obvious fight that already has the storyline? For Dana to go, hey, you know, we might be able to do something with this fight.
I mean, that just sets up more pay-per-view ticket sales.
Yeah. Yeah, because they put that anywhere that can hold a shit ton of people on a pay-per-view card, and it's going to sell. It's going to fucking sell. It's going to sell pay-per-views. It's going to sell out a fucking arena. That's going to help make a hell of a card somewhere in the first quarter they're anticipating of 2022. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a hell of a fucking fight. that is what I've got for news. Do you have
Shit.
anything that you have seen in the
You-
news that I might have missed here?
You could set that fight as the co-main for maybe potential run back to a run back for Figgy and Brandon, because that's selling tickets on top of selling tickets.
For what now?
The Thug Rose Esparza fight, you could stack that on top. You could co-main that for the run back to the run back for Figgy and Brandon.
Oh, that's getting stuck on the run back of Izzy and Bobby Knuckles.
Ah, fuck. That would have been a
Yeah.
good one because then it's little girls and little guys.
No, yeah, that would have been cool to do for 272 instead of Izzy versus Bobby Knuckles 2. I don't know if that's going to work out, but that would have been cool to do. Honestly, I still I'm in the TJ camp here. I'm a little butthurt that they pulled Figgy Smalls versus Moreno off at 269. We should have saw that 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like that fight should have happened. They were both ready for it. Like to move it all the way to fucking February now, like I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. There is definitely an interesting 2022 building so far, but
I
we'll
mean,
see.
a
We'll see how it shapes.
lot of big fights coming early too.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah,
big
they've got a
title
lot in
fights
the
coming
first
early.
quarter for sure.
The only thing that I want to add is not so much combat sports, but contact sports. Man, them fucking Chiefs last week, son. Them Chiefs, I was nervous. I just wanted to add that because I know you're a Kansas City boy.
Yeah, it was a little stress inducing to say the least to do the show and be watching because I had my phone down here on the desk with my fucking earbud in. So I was listening to the game and watching it out of the corner of my eye over here, like in my peripheral, while I was reading my notes in front of me and watching the screens with the show going. But yeah, no, we pulled it out for sure.
Yeah, that was a little bit stressful. That was a fucking stressful one. I mean, y'all had a very thin defense too, man. Y'all had a lot of fucking Backstreet Boy.
I was gonna say between the couple of actual injuries and then the Backstreet Boys that are working our team right now, we've got some big names on the sideline at the moment.
But I mean, y'all still pulled it out with some pretty decent names not on the field. Y'all still pulled it out. OT, but a W is a W, damn it.
I was gonna say, still matters. That W is still big time. It puts us number one. Looking at that number one seed, trying to get that first round bye week.
Fucking 10-4.
Yep. 10-4, running shit now. Yeah, no, I tell you what, though, fucking TJ and Fresh's teams both had me fucking more stressed than my team's fucking game was this weekend. That fucking Green Bay game. And I thought they were going to give it away for a minute there. And then fucking the Niners, dude, those Niners had my blood pressure through the fucking roof this weekend. It's getting to the point where we're getting real good football. It's either blowouts or crunch times every fucking weekend. So
yeah,
football is going to hold us over while we've got a couple weeks off here. January, I think. Let me double check just so I'm not talking completely on my ass here. Yes, January 13th, we will be back. January 13th, we will be back with a full episode to talk about that fucking Giga versus Cater card. That fucking dude, that UFC is coming back strong in 2021. It's going to be good times. But that is all I've got. Do you have anything else you want to add to the end of our 2021 run here, RJ?
no, not that I can think of.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, well, I'm sure the only ones who've been watching this, thank you very much for helping us.
I gotta go then.
Very interesting. Yeah, don't get me flagged again, motherfucker. No, thank you to everyone.
Minors.
Thank you to everybody who helped us make this a very fun 2021 here on the I'm No Joe podcast. We have already got some crazy shit lined up in store for you when we come back with our season premiere kickoff on January 13th. The I'm No Joe show will be back. See, live, it's hard sometimes. That being said, you can still keep up with us between now and then on all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, youtube.com/I'm No Joe for videos to keep you occupied while we're off on the break. Anchor.fm/I'm No Joe. Fucking dog's freaking out on me. If you just need some background noise, you can get it to your podcast consumption platform of choice. Patreon.com/I'm No Joe. If you like what we do and you want to help us out, gives you access to get your name down on the thank you list, get you behind the scenes shit, unaired and literally unairable footage. Otherwise, down at the bottom of the scrolling screen here and down in the description is the Discord link. I know that the holidays can be very difficult for people. If you need to reach out, reach out. There's always someone available in the Discord, day or night. Somebody is there to talk to. You are not ever alone if you don't want to be. That being said, thank you to everyone who's come along on this journey. We are going to call that all for this particular episode. I appreciate each and every one of you, and we will see you again in 2022. Remember, you can root for anything. Don't let ignorance stop you.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times.